Hello, everyone. I'm Axel Kruger. Can you hear me? Pablo, can you hear me well? Okay. So I guess we get started. I think there are several people still missing, but let's get started anyways. So as you know, I mean, we have or as some of you know, we have a series of webinars that we start doing Wednesdays, every first Wednesday of the month. And we mix a few different topics, some related to modeling aspects and some related to innovation around the AC industry. We have a division within our company that focuses on innovation and how, I mean, to help our clients automate workflows and make their processes more efficient. I mean, through scripting and software development and working with APIs. And among those, Forge is one of the platforms that we leverage. And that's going to be center of this conversation. And with this, I'd like to present Pablo Derendinger, who is our superhero, hacking superhero, or magician, and whose formal role is of solution architect. And well, with this, I leave you here on the presentation. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Axel, for the presentation. Hi, everybody. So today I'm going to walk you Forge Viewer and just how to implement that from scratch. We are not going to stop into the code, but we are going to go step by step, checking on a specific repo, and we're going to see what each part does in this whole solution. So to start, so we're going to create, I'm going to walk you through, as I said, through Forge using the viewer that the API has, and we are going to connect that to BIM 360 Hub. So we're going to ask the user, the end user, to connect with the credentials, and then they will access the viewer to see their models. So the first step will be to create the Forge account. If you're not familiar with that, I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to create a server. We're going to check how the authentication is working on this example. We're going to go through the data management, how we are going to navigate all the options that we have on the hub and the projects on Forge in BIM 360. And just a little bit about the user information, how it's shown on the solution that we are creating. And the last topic will be the viewer itself. Okay, so let's start the Forge setup. So we need to, the first step is to create a Forge account. If you don't have it yet, you can sign in and start for free. You can develop series of tools using Forge APIs. The only thing that you need to do is to sign in or sign up if you don't have an account and start the free trial. This will allow you to create new apps. To do that, there's only one. Once you sign up and you are logged in, you will see that there is a small button on the right that says Create App. Just click on that, and here's the first difficult part, because you have to choose which APIs you want to use from BIM 360 Forge. From Autodesk Forge. So for this specific example, we're going to use the BIM 360 API, the data management API, and the model derivative API. Okay. There are around 8 different APIs that each one does a different thing and connects to different services that Forge provides us. So with this tree, what we are going to do is to access BIM 360, navigate through the folders, and then grab one of the models that you have in BIM 360 and convert that into something that we can show on this viewer that we are creating. It's important that you set up a good name for your app. So remember that use something that illustrates what you want to achieve with it. Because if you continue developing tools, you have a lot of tools in your list, and it's difficult to know which one is using the different credentials. So first, put a name, then a description that helps too, and you can see here on the bottom you have the callback URL. The callback URL is the URL where you're going to do the credentials, okay? So the credentials are going to be logged in by the user, and then the authentication, the OAuth, will pass through this specific endpoint to get the actual connection to Autodesk. So if your company already has something that's using Force, you may want to use this to directly to that URL. In this case, as we are doing everything from scratch, we are going to use localhost. I'm going to go into more detail later, but this is how it should look like. Okay, so you have your app information where you have your client ID. I just masked this one, but you have your unique client ID, the client secret. If you share it and you don't want other people to use it anymore, you can just regenerate it, and that will solve your problem. Then you can see here, we are using localhost at one specific endpoint, which is API Force callback OAuth. This is pointing out to our solution, okay? So remember, don't share this information with anybody outside your organization, because this is sensitive information and it could cause you harm, okay? How to save this? There are several ways. There are several examples of how to do it. Most of some examples put this information directly into the code. I don't advise you to do that, because any slip, you can just share that. I don't know if you're using GitHub, for instance, you push it to your repository, and now it's free for everybody that has access. So it's probably better to set it up as an environment variable. To do that in Windows, just look in the Windows menu, look for environment variables or set up environment. It will prompt this window. You just click on environment variables and then set up everything. Just take a note of the name I'm using, because it will be the same name I'm calling it from our server, okay? So it will be Force callback URL. It will put the URL that you have on the previous slide, this one. And for the client ID, it's the same as the client ID from the previous, and client secret, again, the same. Just save this, and then you can start with the coding, with deploying the solution. If you're using a Unix-based system, you can do it through the terminal directly by putting set the name of the variable equals and the value of the variable, okay? So let's jump to create the server. Okay. So we need some tools to do that. We're going to do it using Node.js. So you can go to Node.js webpage, download. I prefer to use the standard most stable version, but you're free to use both. There are two versions, the more updated, and the other one that's a little bit stable. And then we need to decide which IDE we want to use. I'm using a Visual Studio Code, but you can use also Atom, or you can even use Notepad++. But I advise you to use IDE more powerful, because you will need a few features to debug. Okay? So we're going to be based on one specific repository that Autodesk provides us. This is the URL. You can scan the screen to get it, or it will be on the final slide of this presentation. Let's just go to our friend GitHub. We're going to access this repository, and we're going to clone it. There are several options about how you can do it, but you can just download the zip file and save on any folder on your computer, okay, that you have access. Once you have it on your folder, we can continue with the setup. So the first thing that we are going to do on the server is to set up the init. This is an npm init. npm comes with Node. It's a package manager that allows you to download dependencies, but also to publish your own packages. It's a good advice to start with this. So with the command on the terminal on the same level that you have your project, just write npm init. That will prompt you a series of questions about how you want to name the solution, a description of the solution, and what's the start point. By default, it will take the name of the folder that you're using. So if you want to keep it that's okay. You can ignore the description, and the start point will be, in this case, start.js. Okay, this will help us to run it through npm and run it as a task later. Dependencies. Okay, so this project has 4 external dependencies. One is Express. Express allows us to create the endpoints and the applications that we access from outside, okay? So once we have Express, we have this endpoint that we can go there and access the server, the web page. We have another one that is Multer. I don't know, someone, if you can mute a little bit, or you have a question, just let me know, or just write on the chat. Thank you. So we have Multer, which will handle the possible upload of files. If we want to upload some files that are bigger than 10 megabytes, we need to split those in order to get it to the final server. We have Cookie Session, which is cookie sessions. It will help you not to log in every time that you reload the page. And of course, the Force APIs. The Force APIs are wrapping everything in order to give us a more easy way to code and to get our solutions back, our solutions up. Just a few lines of code. You don't have to do all the requires or request to Force API. Okay. So we have our project set up. We have our dependencies. We need to continue with the actual server. We're going to talk about the startup, which is the core of everything that we are going to mount up, the authentication, how we can handle permissions and tokens from Force, how is the hub structure, and last, the user information. Okay, so start.js. You can see here we have the structure of the file structure. I'm going to use that graphic to illustrate where are we talking, what are we talking about and where it's located. But this file, which is called start.js, is the one that we put it on the init to be the starting point. We will, here we will call Express, and we will set up all the endpoints, saying, okay, if the user accesses it, show this page. It also will handle all the other endpoints that handles the handshake that you have to do to access Force, and also the user information, the data management, and it will call all the credentials that you set up on the variables to make it accessible for the server. Okay. I'm going to show you how it looks like here on code. Just a sec. It's a really simple txt file. Here you are declaring the dependencies, calling the dependencies, checking the credentials, and then setting up the endpoints. Okay. Finally, you have the actual action that deploys the server, that calls the server. So our next step is that now we have the server up, but we need to authenticate. We need to make sure that Force know who we are. For that, we use OAuth and OAuth, one OAuth implementation. In this example that we are using is deployed in two different files. The first file is called OAuth.js, and it's under roots. It's a more high-level implementation that just push you to that to the second one. It will just handle, okay, I'm accessing it, what's going on here, and the rest of the information, the rest of the things will be handled by OAuth that is inside roots, common, OAuth. This one is in charge of getting the token, which is the permission, defining the scope. This user can access to read, to write, both, that kind of things is handled by this file here. And it's also using the credentials that we make available from the start point. Just to show you, we're talking about the files that I located inside roots, and you can see that it's just a simple endpoint. If you're familiar with JavaScript and nodejs as a server, it's easy to understand what's going on. And then what it's doing actually is calling the second one that it will handle all this handshake permissions between what we are going to do and what Force allows the user to do. So let's just follow the steps. We have the server, we are in, we have a connection, and now we need to navigate through BIM 360 API. To do that, we need to access the management API that helps us to navigate from different stages of BIM 360. This file, which I'm going to show you back again, it's inside roots also because it's part of the endpoints that we are setting up. You have different ways to get into BIM 360. So you start from the top, which is hubs, then projects, then items, then folders and items, and then you go to the bottom to get the final thing that we want, which is the file that we can see. I'm going to stop just a second on this, which is sometimes it could be complicated, but I think we need to explain it. The way that BIM 360 Hub is split is structure is by the first step is the user access a hub. The hub can have different projects inside, and a user can share more than one hub, can be part of more than one hub. But one hub has projects underneath. Those projects and those hubs are part of the project service, which is called project service. It's a different part of the API. This part you don't have to worry about, hey, what part I need to talk with, because we are using Force Force packages, dependencies that help us with that part. So once we are in the project, we start iterating and going through the folders. Each folder can have nothing, a folder itself, or an item. Okay, so once we get an item, we are going to query that into, okay, what's the versions that you have? As you know, BIM 360 can handle different versions of the same file, so you can go through the history of the file, how the changes are going. We need to access the 3D. We need to access a specific version, one specific version. And once we have that, we're ready to query the object storage service, the OSS, which is the final step here. This is what we're going to get to show on our screen. We have defined everything, but we need to figure out, okay, the user, what's going on with the user. We have information from the user. We want to show, okay, you are logged in with this specific user that has this specific information, which is your Autodesk BIM 360 user. This information is handled by the file user.js, which provides all the name, last name, and profile picture for the user to show on our screen. I'm not going to stop on this one. And that's it. We have the server. But now we need to be able to see what we are doing. On the client side, this is going to be visible from the client side. Again, some examples show the credentials here on this part, on the public part. Don't do that. Just keep it on your server as a environment variable, okay? So we have another folder inside of our project, which is called public. Public has the first file is index. An index, this is the HTML file that the end user will see when they access our server. We have on the first part of this file, we have all the CDN declarations that are all this part, which is we are calling all the dependencies that we need. We don't have to have everything on our server. We can just call the different CDNs to get that information. So we load those into the client. That way we save space. And if we don't have the latest and greatest, we just pull that out, okay? It's good to notice that this example is just in the latest version of the viewer, of the viewer. So we have all the latest features, which are, for instance, the access to the M360. One thing that is really important is the change on the version of the file that we are going to show. They are changing from SVF to OTJ, I think is the name of the new convention of the file, which is faster to load and it looks better on the screen. This file also has a component that is the viewer itself, okay? So we need this to live here in the index file. Another part, which is for me, this is a really important part, is the magic itself, okay? So what to show on the screen. This example has two different components that are being shown. One is the project tree, where you can navigate to each project and each model to get the model that you want to see. And the other one is the viewer itself, where we are setting up a few events that we want to trigger after actions from the users. So I'm going to show this one here a little bit. So you can see that under public, we have our HTML, we have our CSS. So this is the way it describes the way the web page should look like. And here we have the force tree, where you can see that we have different calls, jQuery calls that allows you to sign in. It will call our backend, allowing the user to sign in. It will go through every single project once the user clicks, and it will show all the versions and everything that we want to show on the left side of the screen. And the other one is the force viewer, where we are initiating the component itself and then loading the document to be shown on the screen, okay? So we have this. Let's just test it. I'm gonna try to do it, everything I explained it, except for the setup of force, just for you to illustrate how it works. So the first step is I'm opening my file with this Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna do it from scratch. So the idea is that you go through the root of the file, open with code in my case, or whatever you like, and you have the terminal. So this example has it already set up, but we can do it. Let's just do the npm init. You can see that this terminal is showing me, okay, what's the name of the package that you want? In this case, it's already set up. I'm just gonna press enter. The version, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna do it 1.00. The Git repository, in case you want to share this and you want to point to the people that is using this, where to get the code. Keywords, to search it through NPM system. Author, your name. The license, by default, is MIT, which allows you to share it and use it without paying royalties, but just saying who is the one in charge of creating it. And then you have how it will look like. Notice that it took on start, it just made me a script that I will use to trigger to start the server by itself. And it's asking me if it's okay. Yeah, it's okay, it's cool. So I'm gonna check that everything is okay by checking start. It looks great. The config file, I didn't mention it, but it's the one in charge of creating the environment and sending this information to the start. I'm gonna check OAuth. It looks good. I don't have any problems here on my screen, so I think I have all the dependencies for this, and I have all the code is ready to test, and I'm going to start. The command to start it is npm start. And you can see that it prompts a message saying, okay, you are ready to, we are already listening to this specific point. Everything's great. So let's go here and let's go to localhost port 3000 and just go to it. Okay, so in my case, I am ready to log in, but I'm gonna do it. Back to you. I'm gonna go back just to show the process. This part is us, okay? Except for this sign in here. We are using a three-ledge sign in, which we are moving our responsibility about how to manage the user back to Autodesk, so they take care of that. It's safer and it's easier to implement in your company, and you don't have to worry about saving credentials from the user. They just take care of that. Okay, so I'm going to sign in. And it will ask you, okay, this specific server, the one that we are working on, is trying to get access to your data and to your storage. Are you okay with that? This is us, so we are okay with that. Okay, just go step by step. So what you're seeing on the left is the Forge tree that we mentioned before. This is showing a hub, in this case, my personal hub. Then we have different projects that you have. I'm going to show you the demo project that comes with Autodesk BIM 360. Then inside the project, we have folders. Inside that folders, we have the item. And then inside the item, you can have different versions of the file. So in this case, each file has just one version, which is okay. It's created just from scratch. And to access the 3D from this model, we just need to click on the version. And that's it. All the heavy lifting about how to show this information is being done by Autodesk Forge 3D viewer, okay? So out of the box, we have a lot of tools already set up for us. We have a measurement tool that we can use directly to get information. We have, we can work with sections. And to move that section to go through our model. We can, this is a feature that it looks good, but I don't know where to use it, but it looks good, which is, it will split everything and you can go through all the parts. It looks great, but I don't see the use for it. And more on the bin side, because this is just 3D, okay? So we need information. We're doing bin. We can select the element that we want to check and just go to the properties, which are the properties in this case that this Revit file has. We can go through the tree structure of the file, which on a Revit file, it will be the categories first. Then you will have, let's just see something, the columns here. You will have the types, and then you will have the families, then you have the types, then you have the instances inside the families. So with escape, we go out of this. So now we have it. I have a few more minutes, and I want to show you something, a different way to start this project, which is where you can take the more advantage from your IDE that you're using. Okay, so let's just go back to our IDE, and I'm going to cancel that. To cancel a command on a terminal, it's just Ctrl+C. So instead of starting it from the terminal itself, let's just start it from the IDE by launching the project. To launch it, you just go to whatever your debug tool is and run the script. What's the difference between running like this and running in the terminal? It will work the same, but if you debug, you can jump in and check everything while it's loading, which gives you more information about what's going on. So in this case, I have my app set up. I have all the information that is coming with this app, which is expressed on this case. I can go through here. I'm just going to continue. Oops. Oh, I have my Zoom menu bothering me. I'm going to continue. If I go back, I'm gonna check where this event is going on. Okay, so I'm gonna put here on sign out. I'm going back to my model, and I'm gonna sign out. And here it pops out. Okay, the user just signed out. So I have more information, and I can improve my software or debug it or finding all the information. Okay, I can change it. In this case, I can't change it live, but you can see at least the information is going on. Okay. Another good way to do it is just to put some prints on the code that will prompt on the debug console. But this is more easy for a daily project. So I'm just going to continue. And that's it. These are the references. I invite you to jump in to learn force.autodesk.io to see the tutorials. This tutorial is half based on what you can find now on the View Hub Models tutorial. But if you want to actual code that we are using, go to this GitHub repo where you can find it. It's just a matter of downloading, setting up your credentials, and you're up to go. Okay. So thank you, and we're open to questions if you have it. Okay, perfect. Everything was clear. Okay, nice. So please, again, thank you for your time, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. You can find us also on GitHub under ENGworks Dev. For LinkedIn is ENGworks US, and you can visit our webpage on ENGworks.com. Okay. Axel, do you have any closing notes? Okay, cool. You're welcome, Fred. So I'm gonna give you back 20 minutes of your life. Okay. If you have any questions, you are too shy to ask those here. Just contact us, and we're more than happy to help you with this and with any other project. And another thing, just if you follow us on LinkedIn, stay tuned because we are going to do more small webinars like this one to show how to use different tools and to different APIs from our AC BIM industry. We are up to, if you have suggestions about one topic, we can prepare something. And that's it. Thank you for your time, everybody. Enjoy your day.